Welcome to Film Don't Lie University. I'm Chris, he's Brett. Now, whether you're watching on Brett's channel, The Film Room, or my channel, Harris Football, do yourself a favor and subscribe to the other person's channel, because we both do tons and tons of film work all season long to hopefully make you a smarter person about the players themselves. But Film Don't Lie University is about making you a better film watcher. We're going to teach you to watch film so well that you can do our jobs. Right, Brett?
I like my job. I'd love to keep my job. Hopefully we don't teach him that well, because I certainly want to keep my job.
Well, we're going to do our best. And so today we're tackling the question of quarterback accuracy. How do you know it when you see it? It's obvious when someone hits somebody in stride. It's obvious when somebody just throws it exactly on a dime. But there are some plays that aren't as obvious, and we think we can help you look for signs that the quarterback you're watching does or doesn't have the ability to consistently throw the ball accurately with ball placement. And the point would be, our goal here is so that when you're watching on your own on Sunday, you'll have a sense of whether a quarterback's good stats are repeatable. Brett, get us started with a look at some ball placement with Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, one of the greatest connections of all time, and partly because of Big Ben's ball placement and his trust in Antonio Brown to catch these very well-placed balls. And so you can see here he's under pressure, kind of a lot of trash around his feet, so he doesn't have time to really get on platform and make a solid throw, but just on pure arm talent alone, he's still able to put it a yard outside the numbers, where Brown's able to kind of plant that lead foot and drag the trail toe. You don't want to put this ball too high. You don't want to make him jump for it, because then it makes it too easy for the corner to just kind of push him out of bounds in midair. You want it low enough where he can have his feet on the ground as he makes the catch, so that he can drag out of bounds. You don't want to have him have to step after making the catch. You want those feet already on the ground. So great job keeping it low and putting it outside just enough where Rhodes can't get a hold of it with those 34.5-inch long arms. I mean, you extremely long corner, but still just far enough outside where he can't get it. And of course, I got to shout out Antonio Brown for the great footwork, but that footwork would not have been possible without a perfectly placed pass. So, I mean, again, huge props to Ben for making this one work.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, maybe you're right about the trash around his legs and not necessarily able to step into that throw. You're probably not getting the full power of his arm behind it, and yet you're so right. Like, it's the ability to account for all that. It's the ability to know, okay, I'm able to put I'm able to put 73% of my effort into this, and it's not going to be on a line like it would be if I could step into it. To do all that calculus in your mind and still get the ball there exactly where Antonio Brown needs to do it, like, I'm not even sure I want my young quarterback attempting this throw, but if you see someone being able to do this when they're not able to have all their mechanics be perfect, man, that's pretty special stuff. Phillip Rivers has a throw where he scores a touchdown with Hunter Henry against the Eagles in Week 4. I don't think you'd necessarily call Hunter Henry open on this play, but when you see a quarterback who does this, who, even though Malcolm Jenkins is practically inside his uniform, still puts it in the whatever 10 square inches where only his guy could get it, yeah, that's literally what we mean by placement. Like, it would be the same if he walked it over and placed it right there. I think pay attention to these things. Watch the games and how the touchdown happens. Not just that the touchdown happens. Watch how the ball winds up in the receiver's hands. If the receiver is constantly having to make insane plays, that might be a little less repeatable for the quarterback. It's like, if it's like this and this play, more repeatable.
Yeah, I mean, they call it throwing a dime because, you know, you want to be able to hit a dime out of midair with the ball with how accurate it is. And I mean, the window he had to make this throw was literally the size of a dime. There is no other portion of the field where this ball could be put where it is not a completion for a touchdown. I mean, that is one of the best throws that you will see in the last year. And again, if you see a young quarterback, Phillip Rivers is a veteran, but if you see a young quarterback who has that kind of accuracy in the red zone, I don't care how good the coverage is, I don't care how good the pressure is, you're going to score a lot because that is an utterly indefensible throw. And a similar kind of thing with Cam Newton. I mean, again, in the red zone, people kind of knock Cam Newton for his accuracy, but again, if you see a throw like this in the red zone, it tells me something. It tells you that you have the not just the arm talent, but the accuracy to be a very productive quarterback in fantasy. And this is one of the best throws I've ever seen in my life out of any quarterback. I don't care who we're talking about. And you can see the adjustment in his arm angle. He's throwing it kind of like almost like a sidearm, whizzes it by the ear hole of the defensive lineman. I mean, I don't even know how it doesn't hit him in the face. Whizzes it by the ear hole, puts it only where Ed Dixon can get it. I mean, again, it's just like with the Hunter Henry pass. There is no other portion on the field where this ball can go without that being a touchdown. I cannot believe that throw. It's one of the best I've ever seen in my life. It was 3 years ago, but I mean, if you ever want an example of accuracy, Kelvin Benjamin, that's an accurate quarterback.
Well, I'll say this about that. I mean, what we're showing here is an example of what it looks like when a player makes a great play, and this is clearly a great play at the end of the half against the Falcons a couple of years ago. I'd probably find some plays where Cam Newton's accuracy leaves a little bit to be desired, and so maybe the sum total of your experience of watching Cam Newton winds up being he's got it in him to be very, very accurate and spectacular, but sometimes maybe he's not quite always. So it becomes the thing where as long as you watch enough stuff, if you see your dude consistently doing this and maybe not doing the things that inaccurate Cam does, you're onto something. And then if you see Cam capable of this and then not doing it a lot of the time, you go, all right, well, I guess Cam can't do that on every play, but when he does it, it winds up being pretty spectacular. Hey gang, a quick break to thank Lisa for sponsoring Film Don't Lie University today, and the people from Lisa are almost certainly watching this because they are fanatics for fantasy football. They text me during their drafts to say, hey, who should I take? But I want to talk about Lisa mattresses because I sleep on one, and if you've been thinking about getting a new mattress, I really think you'll like it. Now, not every mattress is for every person, and that's why Lisa gives you 100 risk-free nights to try out their mattress and return it if you don't like it. No questions asked. They'll arrange for it to be picked up. They'll refund you. It's a really great deal, a much better deal than you'd get at a retail mattress store. So here's what you can do. Click the link that's below me in the show notes. I think it's lisa.com/FDLU for Film Don't Lie University. And that way we can get you $160 off your new Lisa mattress. So if you've not been sleeping great, if you've been thinking about getting a new one, I personally can really recommend Lisa, and they are actually legitimately crazy for fantasy. We thank Lisa so much for sponsoring. Let's get back to some film.
Okay, let's jump back into it real quick here with Case Keenum. I know he's one of our favorite punching bags when we're talking about quarterbacks, but he does a lot of things that really annoy me on tape. And I understand he's very productive. He's a great person, but man, some of the tape really makes you pull your hair out just as much as it makes you shout in excitement. I mean, it's very up and down for throws exactly like this one, and it's a good contrast to that Ben Roethlisberger Antonio Brown throw we saw a little bit earlier. Again, same sideline. It's Diggs coming back to the ball just like Antonio Brown was, but look where he puts that ball. It's way, way too hot. You cannot make your receiver jump on this kind of ball because he will just get shoved from behind in midair and pushed out of bounds. You need to put it outside, let him plant that lead foot and drag the trail toe. Do not make him jump. I understand he was trying to get it over the linebacker, but you can get it over the linebacker without making Stephon Diggs jump for that ball. It was completely unnecessary, and it's placement like that can lead to drives ending and games stalling out and offense is not being productive. And it drives me insane because high school quarterbacks learn where to put that ball on a comeback route. And I know Case Keenum knows where to put that ball on a comeback route. He just doesn't, and it's very, very frustrating.
Well, and I'll say, again, in Case Keenum's defense, I could show you lots and lots of times where he makes this throw, and he did last year. And so we're not even making a statement about Keenum as being incapable of throwing a simple pass to the sideline to Stephon Diggs. We're making a point about if you see your guy doing this in the course of a 500-yard game, if you see a bunch of this, it means the 500 yards are probably not that repeatable. This is kind of what it looks like. I don't know if you agree with this, Brett, but to me, maybe this is about arm strength. because he's not quite under control. It's sort of a hard throw to make as you're rolling, and he kind of needs to bubble it up. Sometimes a lack of arm strength manifests itself as an overthrow because he can't throw it on a line. And I agree, it's a little bit of a red flag that goes, this guy isn't all that complete of a quarterback. Do you agree with that, that maybe this is a little bit about a lack of arm strength too?
Yeah, because I do feel that to a degree accuracy comes from arm strength because, I mean, it's the difference between if you go pick up a basketball right now and throw it and you throw a tennis ball, you're going to be more accurate with the tennis ball because your arm is more easily able to control it. So, yeah, Keenum, one of his big downsides for his entire career, I mean, he's over 30 years old now, has been arm strength. And in some ways, it manifests itself in accuracy issues, just like with this throw. We know he knows where to put the ball. It's just a matter of if he's consistently capable of doing it.
Right. So let's move on to a couple of plays I want to show that are related to Jameis Winston and the problems that Winston has with accuracy that I don't think this is a big revolutionary statement about Winston. And frankly, again, I want to leave aside the specifics of the player. I want to talk about what it looks like when a player doesn't throw with great accuracy. So the read is pretty clean. It's pretty clear. Cameron Brate maybe stopping his route a little bit here, but it's pretty obvious that the window where Winston can throw this pass to is to the out, right? Because it's an out. It's worth emphasizing. Of course, everybody knows what it looks like when the quarterback throws it to the other team. Yes. But I don't think all interceptions are created equally. There are sins of omission, like bad reads, stuff that theoretically you can teach someone to read better. But it also helps, I think, fantasy players to be able to identify the throws that are sins of commission, where the quarterback does everything right. He reads it right. He knows where he's supposed to throw it to. He knows he's supposed to throw it to the out here, right? And yet he doesn't get the ball exactly where he's supposed to. I don't know. How do you make Jameis throw this pass more accurately ever?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't under any pressure. He saw the backer leveraged inside. I mean, it is the clearest read he will have all game. It is a inside leverage backer. You throw it to the outside shoulder of the tight end. It should be an easy completion on third down. And he just misses. I mean, there's no other explanation for it. He just misses. And I don't know if it's mechanics or what, but it's something that's very concerning on tape. And again, when we're looking at all these other young quarterbacks, even somebody from Jameis's draft class, he's been around for a few years now, but when we're looking at these young quarterbacks that we expect to break out, if they're throwing these inexplicable interceptions just because they throw it straight to a linebacker, it's very worrisome, and it makes us think twice about maybe where we want to invest in them.
Right, and believing that the good, because I've said this on other Film.Law University, it's not that uncommon in the age of 40, 50 pass attempts per game for a player who's putting plays like this on film to still put up big cumulative-looking stats and make you think, oh, he's good. I hear that all the time. Like, why are you down on Blake Bortles? He had this huge year. And I say, well, I watched him play, and I realized it wasn't repeatable, and that in the future you wouldn't see it. And so, again, a little more Jameis bashing. This play against the Bills from last year isn't a matter of pressure. It's not really even a matter of chemistry. The play is end of the half zone coverage. This is 33 seconds left in the half. We're just sort of trying to keep you from making a big play. The linebacker's clearly dropping, and you have to lead Cameron Brate toward the middle of the field because the linebacker's on his outside hip this time, the opposite, right? And Winston just doesn't do it. He turns basically into what should have been a nice read up the seam, and he did read it, right? It just wasn't an accurate throw. And he turns it into an up for grabs ball that winds up being intercepted. Again, the point is less about bashing Jameis. It's more about, if you keep seeing a quarterback make these kinds of mistakes, don't believe that the stats are real.
To me, just thinking about it from a quarterback's perspective, it's even less about leading him inside and more about just elevating the ball to your 6'5" tight end. Like, you have a 3 or 4 inch height advantage. Like, even if you don't want to leave it inside because you feel like that's just going to make him get blown up by the safety, which, I mean, he's going to get blown up anyway, but even if you don't want to leave it inside, at the very minimum, you need to elevate the ball so that if he's not catching it, nobody's catching it. And he doesn't elevate it. Again, it's frustrating because there's no pressure. He has all the time in the world, and he's just missing. And it's very concerning when we see that from a young quarterback, and it makes us think that maybe he won't develop into that elite tight end one option that we were hoping for when us dynasty owners that have Winston, cough, cough, me, maybe we're not getting what we hoped for when we invested a first-round pick in him in my dynasty league all those years ago. And speaking of the Buccaneers, why don't we talk about a play against the Buccaneers, against Jameis's team, from a former Buccaneers quarterback who Jameis Winston replaced, making the same exact mistake, different coverage, but making the same exact mistake, so I guess things never really change. And this is Mike Glennon, week 2 last year. And, the hardest, or at the very least, the most dangerous throw in the NFL is an out route across the numbers in terms of, from the near hash to across the far numbers. That is the most dangerous throw in the NFL. More pick sixes are thrown on this throw than any other, by far. And primarily, there is a pick six on this throw, but primarily it's not because of just that he threw the ball late. It was a late read, it was a late throw, but because, again, he didn't elevate it. When you are throwing an out route against an undercutting nickel backer, you have to keep that ball up. You have to put it in a spot where only Josh Bellamy can get it. You cannot throw it down at his belt line and expect that not to get picked off. You have a 3-inch height advantage. Elevate the freaking ball. It's the only way that is ever going to get complete, Glennon. And he knows that. He's an NFL quarterback. He knows that that's where he needs to put the ball. He just misses, and it's flat out inexcusable.
So let me ask you this, in the course of just watching, once this season begins, in the course of watching, how many throws like this? Everybody's going to make a mistake. As a film watcher, how many throws do you need to see where the bad examples are shining through to the point where it starts to tilt you into thinking, I kind of don't care what the numbers are going to say, what the cumulative game numbers, the fantasy numbers are going to say. I'm just not a believer in this quarterback.
I would say probably between 5 and 8 games. And I say that for this reason because I learned a big lesson on it last year with Deshaun Kaiser and Deshaun Watson. Kaiser looked very good in the preseason, Watson did not. So I kind of made a determination based off that. And then 4 weeks later in the regular season, the scripts were flipped. So I feel like after 5 to 8 games, not just in preseason, but in regular season, is when we finally start to understand what a quarterback actually is. And of course, now we know after that sample size that Deshaun Watson is a legitimately great NFL quarterback, and Deshaun Kaiser, at least now, at least at this moment in his career, isn't there yet.
I will perhaps say Deshaun Watson may eventually be a legitimately great NFL quarterback, but that's quibbling, and that's a topic for another show. But it was really fun to talk about this stuff with you guys. Accuracy is the kind of thing that you think you know it when you're watching the game, and then I think if you pay a little closer attention, you'll start to see maybe some problems with some of the guys you think have accuracy, and maybe you'll find some good ball placement from folks who you had questions about. Remember, follow both of us and subscribe and click that ridiculous little bell, and that way you'll always get updates when we have new videos on our channels. This has been great. Film to Lie University, so fun to bring to you, and we'll see you next time.